then won't that corrupt the whole scientific process? And he said, yes. And furthermore, I brought up another point. I brought up that in December, I challenged Paul Offit, the chief spokesperson of the vaccine industry, when he made unsupported remarks on the basis of 3 exposures, just 3 exposures, known to cause autism in the womb, that therefore all autism can only be caused in the 1st or 2nd trimester of pregnancy. And when I asked him how he can make such a sweeping statement, he called me a stalker, and I was removed from NIH. And Francis Collins had no idea why. Even though I sent a letter to his office shortly after my removal, asking him why, and lo and behold, I have received no response. 7 of the 9 IOM studies support a link between vaccines and autism, even though they're cited as as evidence against a link. Like some of the examples you were just provided up here, the CDC Generation Zero data admitted from the Bear Stratton study, the Danish study, which used fudged autism statistics. But there's more. The Danish study of MMR and autism, which Paul Thorson was responsible for funding, showed a 45% increased risk with MMR and autism, and that was omitted from the manuscript. Even though you can clearly look in the raw data and see that it's there, they did not report that.
Where's Paul Thorson?
Where is Paul Thorson? Katie Wright asks me. He's been indicted by our government, but is he here in the United States? No. He's still in Europe. Why hasn't he been taken, hasn't he been brought over to this country to face charges? What is going on? And I just want to close by simply saying that I have absolutely no faith whatsoever in our government, and certainly the director of the NIH, the federal agency charged with funding health research around the country, if he couldn't give me some solid explanations, but rather were squeamish, but got all squeamish and you know, wanted to end the conversation as quickly as possible, who can? When we ended, Francis Collins told me, there will be a truth. It may not be my truth. It may not be your truth. It will be the truth. And I agreed with that. Because if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm wrong, then that means all of those decisions, all of those compensations that have been given to children since the early 1990s for developing autism as a result of their vaccinations are wrong, including Hannah Poling. Hannah Poling is the tip of the iceberg. So the government is not sending us a consistent message, but we are, and we have to continue sending that message until change can be made. Thank you.
All right, we will take some questions from the audience for our speakers. Yes?
I was very interested to hear the one woman who I wasn't familiar with before who made the comment about thinking that the committee should look into whether vaccines are related to increase in autism. I guess you would consider that welcome, but on the other hand, hasn't the committee formally rejected any possibility of studying that idea? I'm not sure the sequence here, but that's not going to happen with this committee, is it?
Which of our speakers would like to take that question, Mary?
Yeah. In our critique, which we should have mentioned, the critique of the Canary Party and the Elizabeth Burke Center on the IAC committee, it reviews the study that had been funded on vaccines and autism. And Dr. Insel, in his wisdom, defunded that study and did it in a surreptitious manner, not letting all the members know that it would be re-voted on, having been voted forward. I think we can say with great confidence, based on the people that they've appointed to this newly reconstituted IAC, that many of them are very hostile to the idea that there's any relationship between vaccines and autism, particularly Allison Singer of the Autism Science Foundation, her colleague from the Autism Science Foundation, and a third, well, people from the federal agencies, many people from the federal agencies. So I think it would be a remote possibility that this newly constituted committee would look at vaccine research. But I think we should certainly be pushing them on that in public comment this afternoon.
I have a question about the police presence. Maybe you could speak about that a little bit. Police presence that you noticed?
Yes, I believe our group was contacted by Homeland Security. They were worried that we might chain ourselves to the building and not at all worried about our children. So, yeah, I believe that's why they were there and we were watched fairly closely. Yes?
It was really evident to me that there was nobody asking for causation. Did you agree? Does anyone want to comment on that?
Mark, would you like to comment on that?
Sure.
Thank you.
I think there's a lot of lip service done to all the progress that they're making. I think the sad reality, Dawn, is that everybody's in this business to perpetuate what they've been doing forever and not change anything. And the best kind of causation research is the kind of causation research, the best kind of causation research for the constituencies that are at the table, that are invited to the table, is the kind of causation research that leads to nothing. Because then they can get more grant money and use our kids to get more tens of millions of dollars of research authorized and extend the gravy train.
Like your shirt.
I think there's an economic aspect to research science that we have to acknowledge, which is people don't like to find cures because then or prevention, real prevention, because that means the research is over and the problem is solved and it's done. Many scientists aren't really in the business of solving problems. They're in the research, in the business of getting grants. And so causation, real causation research that really would stop autism, that would really get underneath what happens, is actually of no interest to most practicing scientists. And the far and away the largest constituency of NIH is the genetic research constituency, and they've made millions and millions of dollars on autism research that has shown absolutely nothing repeatable. But they're determined to keep going. And as Colin said, they're going to get up to 30%, he hopes, of genetic explanations for autism, when in fact we found 0. 100% of autism is caused by the environment. Before 1930, the rate of autism was effectively 0. Today it's 1 in 88. The conclusion is inescapable. Autism is man-made. There are susceptibility genes perhaps, but that's not what the genetic researchers are looking for. So causation is an awkward subject, and when it's mentioned, there are conflicts of interest.
Well, with respect to the press and our attendees and speakers' time, I think we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate everyone being here and hope that together we can learn to find the truth and make change. Thank you.